How would you describe the BMW iVision Circular in one word?
Disruptive.
My dream.
Pioneering.
Recycled. Changing Lanes, the official podcast of BMW.
Welcome to this episode of Changing Lanes, the official podcast of BMW. I'm Jonathan Tilley, and today on the podcast, we ask the question, what is the BMW iVision Circular vehicle? Now, if you haven't heard already, the BMW iVision Circular, it's a fully electric, four-seater with a generous amount of internal space over a length of 4 meters, and is designed according to the principles of the circular economy, something that we talk a lot about on the show. Now, the iVision Circular is what a compact car that mixes sustainability with luxury could look like in 2040. But instead of me giving you a breakdown of what the iVision Circular is and all its features, we are definitely changing lanes on this episode. In this very special podcast, we have 4 designers who have put their innovation and expertise into the iVision Circular to give you their perspective on how teamwork can truly make this car the car of the future. The iVision Circular would not be a reality without all these designers of the BMW design team, and a few of them are here with us today. Starting off with Kai Lange, head of BMW iDesign, where he is going to show you how disruptive yet optimistic he is about this design of the iVision Circular. Then we have Daniela Bohlinger, head of sustainability design, where she spoke about something that I will never forget. She said, why create something and recreate something that's less bad than what it was when we can truly recreate the future? Then we're going to be moving on to Dirk Müller Stolz, head of BMW i Exterior Design, where he gives us something that I'm very excited to share with you. He tells us that there's an Easter egg somewhere in, around, on, or underneath the iVision Circular. So you should stay tuned to listen to find out where that Easter egg is on the iVision Circular. And then we finish off with style with Matthias Junghanns, head of BMW i Interior Design, where he talks about sustainability without surrender, how sustainability and luxury can come together hand in hand. There's so much to share with you from their collective vision of what a sustainable future can look like. I'm very optimistic, and you should be too. These 4 designers truly have made something of the future. So let's dive on in. What's the most remarkable thing about the concept car for you?
Actually, what is the most remarkable thing for me, what we did with the show car is to show that balance between the high-tech coolness that appears on the car, but on the other side, like a very human warmth and welcome thing that is like into emotions. I mean, combining this into one product, that's the most remarkable thing that we achieved with the car.
Yeah.
For me, it's because it is a holistic view on, I would say, most of the aspects what sustainability is all about. And it is a holistic interpretation of circular economy, which was never done before in that kind of physical object.
I think it's the combination. So that it's on the one hand an offer for premium mobility, and on the other hand it's respecting circular economy. Normally you have to decide for one or the other. And what we try to do here is not to take away things from the customer, but to show them a way how they can live their lifestyle with a premium product and still be thoughtful.
To my understanding, it's the very first automotive concept that is staging the idea of circular economy. And it's the first car really that thinks deep about how you build a car, how you design it, and how you recycle it at the end of life. that makes it outstanding.
Yeah.
And this was also for us a very new and fresh journey into design and design development.
Yeah, I'm sure. Veteran to the podcast, Kai Lange. It is not once, not twice, but 3 times that you are joining us today. The first time was with me, where we were talking about the iX and the i4. A second time when Nikki interviewed you about the i4. And now you're the only guest that's been on the show a total of 3 times. So congratulations. Kai, it's amazing to have you here, head of BMW iDesign. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And it's always a pleasure. As I said already the last 2 times, nice to see you again.
It's great to have you here. So how do you start the process of rethinking? What's your approach to this new design process?
First of all, you don't have to fear it, that something new is coming, that you have to deliver something new that nobody else has done before. Mm-hmm. It could be intimidating. It could be like a big chunk to chew, but you don't have to fear it. You have to really go for it and say, like, okay, good, we go for it. It will be fun, you know? And you know that you face points and situations where you actually don't have any idea how to develop things, how to do a step further and to keep going. So this leads me to the second point, is like, you have to have trust. You have to have trust to all the people that are with you on this trip, on this journey, of their skills and capabilities and all these things. And also, of course, you have to trust yourself that you can solve it. And one big thing is also never panic. That's the thing, is like, never panic, because you have deadlines to be on point at. And yeah, it could be easily to freak out and start to panic when 2 days before a deadline and you don't have anything or no answer and stuff like that. Never panic, because that panic is not the companion you want to have on a journey like this. So never panic, and always going forward, never backward, never stand still. There will be things that don't work the way you thought about it, obviously, but that's kind of the nature of discovering. Then you try another way, another path. And as long as you trust yourself and everybody else in the team, and you don't panic, you can achieve it. That's actually how, like, the very basis on how we start to rethink. And then, of course, you start going into the details. So it's like, how's been built, and you question everything. And and then one thing builds upon the other, and then you at the end come to a very, very good and very nice and successful vision vehicle.
Yeah. And the idea of what is a normal design process of, like just solving a problem. But a normal design process is very far from what you and everybody has actually done. So it's so wonderful to hear the cornerstones, the guideposts of, going on the adventure, trusting it, not panicking, and getting there in the end. That's very reassuring to hear how it was built. I'm sure there were moments where it wasn't as beautifully as scripted and sounding as that, but there's the guiding posts to move things forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And I mean, of course, at the end, everything is nice. It's like when you're done and everything is successful, everybody's happy, it's like, well done. You, of course, forget about the hard things that happen. But you suffer on the way sometimes. But that's also how important a team is, and how important it is to get everybody into the story and on this way. Because, I mean, in the best case, not everybody suffers at the same time. That's a little bit bad if this happens. But so if you suffer a little bit, you can always rely on others. So does it with the rest of the team.
Exactly.
But I have to say, I've never been personally to that point where I suffered. I mean, of course, there are things that don't go easy in the first place, but that's the challenge. That's also fun.
Yeah, that's the gig, right? And especially with such a strong team with you and Daniela and Dirk and Matthias and everybody else helping out. I mean, it's truly remarkable what you've done. This concept car, how does it fit into the overall BMW i strategy?
That's not that easy to answer, though. Of course, we have a strategy of like which products will be launched when and what is the content and the customer base and target and everything. That, of course, but when it comes to design content for the future, I refuse to have a strategy, because if I go with a really hard strategy, I would pretend that I already know how future would look like. And actually, we don't. Nobody does. So if I can say it that way, the only strategy that, first of all, was given to me by my boss and that I really loved to achieve and also give to my team is find the right questions that customers will ask in the future, and then tackle them and really answer them in the best way we can imagine today. Because it's also with new progressive themes, you don't have the right answer today, because maybe you have to develop the answer.
Yeah.
So this is also one thing. So one thing comes to the other. And when it comes to experience and customer satisfaction and the future progressive solutions we have to deliver, my boss already told me when I got the job, he told me, actually, you don't need that much of a strategy. You just have to put something on top that we know today.
Yeah.
And then you will probably tackle the future.
Yeah.
And as easy as that, this is what we do.
Yeah. It's putting yourself in the shoes of the customers, and not just now, but in the future. What are their needs and goals going to be? And how can we design that?
Exactly.
So it's empathy meets design equals strategy, sort of?
So if you want, you can talk about a strategy, so to say.
Yeah.
And the strategy would then be that we pioneer grounds that aren't discovered yet. No. So you can see this as a strategy as well. But classical strategy in terms of okay, this is how our cars, how our products will look like, we don't have yet, because as soon as we know the purposes that car will be for, then we think about the best answers.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you yet what it will be.
Exactly. Because it's in the future.
Because it's in the future.
So what challenges have arisen during the design process, and how did you approach with those challenges at hand? How did the approach of creating the BMW of the future, how did that go?
I mean, I told you already, you have to find things that are not discovered yet, maybe not invented yet. When it comes to challenges, I have to say these are more the easier ones, because you know what you want to achieve, and therefore you have to find a solution, and then you go and search for it, right?
Yeah.
And maybe then if you don't find anything, you develop it on your own, right? Or you ask rocket scientists to help you out on that one, which we often do.
Wow.
We have to. But the real challenges, I have to say, is to get people on board. Because, I mean, we are designers. You spoke to designers, you will talk to designers, to my team. And, it's our job to live always in a daily basis, one step into the future, right? When it comes to a vision car, they ask us to go a week into the future, in our minds, way far into the future. And it's easy for us. We are convenient. It's comfortable for us, that kind of situation. It's not comfortable for everybody, especially for people who are more based in physics and mathematics, in a more real context, right? So taking these people on board and with us, that is the biggest challenge, actually. But it's also the most fun part, because it takes a lot of effort to bring them to the point. It's like when you want to have everybody sitting in the same train, you need to get everybody at the same station, train station, but not only at the same train station, you also have to get them on the same track, right?
Yeah.
So, and you pick them from wherever they are at that time, and you have to bring them at that same point. Yeah. These are the biggest challenges. And you have to do it on point, otherwise you don't get any decisions.
Exactly.
Like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So what was, for you, particularly exciting about the design process of the iVision Circular? How does the design process of concept cars differ from that of a classic car, for example?
So if we take this production car is one thing, I mean, obviously you have a lot of regulations that go in. I mean, it's like super hardcore safety regulations. Of course, this has to happen because people need to be safe. Then you sell it all over the world. You have different law regulations in different areas in the world. So you have to cover this. And you take in consideration, for example, insurance rate people might pay for this car, you know. So way more differentiated in a daily use for customers, and also like to the point on specific regulations. Either they are like technical regulations or law regulations. Then we have so-called concept cars, because we have to divide a little bit. We have concept cars and we've got vision cars. Concept cars are these ones which are kind of like already closer to a production car, but still playing some sort of like more wow effect for people when they see them first time, because it's a kind of a pre-communication. And then you have vision cars, which serve a different purpose, because they act as like a glimpse into the future. It's a sum up of future questions, the sum up of the answer to these future questions in a visualization of a possible solution for this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a bit complicated.
No, but I mean, you just said it before. You know, you think of the people that would want to have this car of the future. You have to get in their shoes, in their minds, in the future, and then answer the questions that they have then.
Yeah.
So totally, 100%, I'm with you.
And what was specifically important to us with the iCircular was also, we take like the whole situation we are in right now and that we don't want to continue for the future. Which is like what we have on climate change and really these kind of responsibilities that we have to take as a company right now, and also want to take and offer solutions for that in the future scope. Because really, I mean, when we talk about future within BMW, we talk about a good future. We talk about a bright future. I mean, I don't want to have my kids living in a dystopian, dark, gray, whatever future that actually I like only in sci-fi movies, but not for myself,
it's
right?
Great
and
for Mad Max, but
it's great for Mad Max, all entertaining, right?
But not for
way
reality.
more entertaining in dystopia than than in a good one. But I like it happening on screen instead of in real life. And so in order to offer something that has a huge impact to create that kind of bright and positive future, you have to bring the answers on like, how can we on that way, how can we act, and how can we offer our customers to act sustainable and correct, actually, without anything to sacrifice, right? Because this is still a thing. I mean, it should be fun and not feeling like, okay, I do the right thing, but now I have to sacrifice fun. Not at all. You know, it's like, you can do the right thing, you can be responsible for everything, you can be sustainable, but you can also have fun. There's no contradiction between these two things. So, and this is what we offer with this car. Yeah,
sustainability and luxury.
And premium
and all together. It's not either or, it's and.
Yeah, exactly. And what we found out when it became even more fun while developing it is like we can add things that we don't know today with like these new answers, and can even extend that experience. So I'm all optimistic for the future.
I can tell. So with the BMW iVision Circular, you are creating a piece of the future of BMW. But how does the future look like for you at BMW?
I would stick to the optimistic thing. Yeah, I think I'm doing okay. So nobody complained about what we're doing. It is fun. I mean, since I'm at BMW, I've never had a day or like a Sunday where I thought about, tomorrow, Monday, I really don't want to work. Wow. Of course, sometimes you have days where you know human. They're going to be hard, right?
Human,
But yeah, of course, we are human. And I still believe and I still think that I have the best job in the world. And I really love working. And I mean, every time you think that you need to change because it becomes a little boring or whatever, you have to develop. Actually, the company gave me the possibility or asked me to develop something that required me to change. And therefore, it was like a whole like push of motivation again. So yeah, what happened with me in the future, I don't know. I think I will still stay with BMW. I would love to.
Well, I mean, if you're doing all these optimistic things for the future of everybody, I'm excited for that future that you have in your mind as well. I'm excited to see where you're going to take everything and how we're all going to follow you and get on that train together.
I hope so, because I want to see it happen, right? And I mean, this is also a responsibility everybody can take on his own. As soon as you can do something to work on a better future, you have to. That's like a responsibility each individual has to take, is my personal belief. And personally, I try to do as much as I can in my position, in my possibilities, to get that part of it and do as much as I can get for a better future. So, and the company gives me the chance to do so, and they specifically ask for it. So, yeah,
well,
can't be better.
It can't be better. Next up, sustainability. Now, after all, that's what the iVision Circular is all about, right? And this dream team, they've put their heads together and created this amazing concept car. And our next guest is the head of sustainability design, Daniela Bohlinger. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I mean, with the idea of rethinking, right? How did you start that process? What was your approach in that design process of rethinking?
Well, the rethinking on my side isn't that sexy as it sounds. It is really based on numbers and facts and figures. I mean, that is what I do. I really look deeper into, as I said, facts and figures. So what is the carbon footprint we want to actually achieve with this car? How can we lower it? What has the biggest impact on a car? So what I do, I divide a car into impact size on materials, for example. Wow. So I broke down on the highest impact materials, came up with like around 5 materials in the end. It's steel, it's aluminum, it is, of course, plastics, it's polymers, and it's all natural grown materials we use. And then some others like glass, etc., stuff we need to build a car. Yeah. So these are the impact drivers for BMW, where you really can start lower the carbon footprint, because you can exchange it on energy you use. You can actually use regenerated energy. This is lowering the carbon footprint immense. And you can use recycled material. Yeah. So that's how I actually approach it. And then we're going to go into all this kind of opportunities you have to rethink when it comes to other solutions you can apply circular economy on.
I think this idea of rethink, reduce, reuse, recycle is genius, because how many people are talking about this moment, the rethink, right? No one. It's all end product. Here's the numbers. This is what we've created. Yeah, but if you don't have that rethink moment before, then you could go down a dangerous and slippery slope. But what I absolutely love is that you've taken those 4 most impactful materials and said, okay, before we even start, how can we change?
Right.
That's where the power is. So with this rethink, reduce, reuse, recycle, with the iVision Circular, it's designed along these principles of the circular economy. So is it even possible to produce more sustainability than that? Is this the end, or is this just the beginning?
This process is something which is just starting. And what I loved is, first of all, that it was also the first time that we confronted the designers with these principles. And they were so hot on that. They loved it. Well, not in the beginning, maybe, but later on. They had to find their way through this kind of new, like, borderlines. Yeah. Is that what you call that? Yeah. Guidelines. A framework I gave them. It's not usual that they do it. So the car they designed is something which actually just happened right in this moment. In this 9 months, we were like sticking our heads together via Zoom or whatever, like remotely. We went really through every piece, re-questioning, rethinking everything, so that we can come up with this design which is out now. But as I imagined giving this briefing twice now, we learned so much through the process that this car would look different. Yeah. It would evolve. It would maybe look totally different, but also applies totally different new technologies, because life cycle assessment is done now And we learn now what has a higher impact on what we imagine has a lower, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a learning process.
Yeah. I mean, the technology of 20 years ago, we just go, right now, that's so outdated. But in 2040, the technology that we have now will be like, that's so outdated. So you have to see how the technology is also evolving with it and how to build upon that as well. That's fascinating.
But there's something which is interesting when you talk about technology. Upon my experience of sustainability, it is more that we look backwards than rather forward, because
really?
Sustainability is something which is doing more with less, reduce.
Yeah.
This is something which is a principle I remember more from my grandparents rather than looking forward to the next generations. I mean, it's about mass consumption. It's about
Truth.
overconsumption. It's about right now, I want it here and I want it fast. And I'm not sure how our society will change if it's going back to this kind of like minimalization, which is a trend at the moment. People try to home garden, people go vegan. The obsolescence is, I think, done. I mean, I'm convinced that to pave the way towards a climate neutral future can only happen through less consumption and a rethinking of society. So if you think about future technologies, it might just be looking backwards, what we did the older days, and improving that through data, innovation, and probably science. And all that together might help us in the future to be more modern than we were in the past.
Yeah. Looking to the past to look forward to the future.
Absolutely.
That is phenomenal. My mind is blown. So a couple questions ago, you said you know every screw. What is a specific task that you can give us a sneak peek to? It doesn't have to be a screw. It could be something that just comes to mind. What's something specific that you are really excited about that you said, I created that. I helped make that?
Well, first of all, I didn't create it. So the creation is done in this whole teamwork. So what I do is I just try to guide them in a direction and push them further if I think they could. So what I'm excited on is, I mean, it's the whole car. It's every material interpretation they did. Stories like we use materials from old car seats. We break them down. We make polymers out of it. We do yarn out of it. Actually, we do the textile, or which is then coming into the Vision show car. We make them out of these old seat covers. These are the stories we are thinking of how our circular economy can work. But it's just one of the small stories which are phenomenal when you think about recycling, for example.
Yeah.
The one thing I love is when I had a conversation with one of the interior designers, and he asked me, hey, Daniela, can you give me a guidance on how can I really solve these issues? Because that's like, it's new for us. And then I said, like, just look at principles which are around you. If you think about dismantling, for example, what is super simple dismantling? Look in Japanese books. Open your mind. And then they came up with this dismantling button on the chair. I mean, I don't know if you heard already what the impression was or where they got the idea from.
No.
From a snowboard boot. From the bottom of these snowboard boots when you twist them. And somehow they were thinking of snowboarding, and then they saw these boots and they're like, oh, that's clever. So the bottom in itself evolved from this first idea of these boots. So this is stuff I love.
Yeah.
Because that's pure industrial design. This is like, be aware of your surrounding, look for good solutions, and then interpret that. And
integrate it into your specific thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
The whole thing of going back to history to look forward to the future, go back to the old designs. How did people do it back then? But also look at what you're doing this weekend. Are you going snowboarding? Is that a button that we can use for
exactly. Is there a clever solution?
Yeah.
And where does it come from? And why is it so? And is it keep it simple, stupid?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't
totally.
over-design it.
Exactly. Exactly. Amazing. All right. How close is the iVision Circular to being the greenest car? Or is it even the greenest car? Or could it get even greener? What do you think?
Well, the greenest car, it needs a little bit more than just a shell and some seats, because this car wouldn't drive at the moment. So the greenest car is, again, about production, it's about supply chain. This is something we have to look at. We have to make sure that supply chain is safe and no child labor included. And the same is, we are not talking about the solution of the final end of life and recycling. So this is also something which actually has to be done if we talk about the cleanest car. But most important and the biggest impact is the use phase, and that's what we talk about, the engine. Yeah. And that's also something where we talk about next-gen batteries in this car, but we don't get in depth in it because we made clear that we want to leave that out. It's a 2040 vision. Are we sure that we are on batteries? No, we don't know what the engine looks like. So I think the greenest car comes from BMW. Yes, I'm convinced we can do it. But this car is, as I said, like an imagination of what circular economy can look like. But yes, if we follow these principles we did in the car, we are way above where everybody else is at the moment.
Most definitely.
Well, so learning from what we did now is the most important thing, and then taking the peaks out of this experience of the development of the BMW iVision Circular, and then really trying to integrate that now in the Neue Klasse. And that's what we do at the moment. This is what I have to do now. It's like funneling all the ideas and putting it in a grid again.
Yeah, exactly. Now, with the iVision Circular, you have helped to create a piece of the future of BMW. But what does the future look like for you at BMW?
That's a really thoughtful question. The question for me was always, how long does it take that the design department is that advanced in the knowledge and have all the tools that I'm obsolete, that I can go? That would be perfect. Because then they don't need somebody who guides them through sustainability, because then it's just embedded. But it's not yet. So it's good. I'm still in my business.
You're still here. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for that.
I did quite a lot of learning. I just came back from my sabbatical. I was invited to the University of Umeå in Sweden, and I'm a professor there, embedding sustainability in the curriculum. That's what they do there, what I do in Sweden. And I just came back from that, and I got a lot of time for contemplation and reflection. And what I see is that, first of all, we need more guidance. We need clearer guidance. We need really to have clear design vision of what sustainable design looks like for us. This is something you can develop, and this has to be developed. But then also we need more time to talk about it. We need space to rethink. If you only redesign, you are in a kind of like evolving process, but you're never hitting this paradigm and shift of all new. You will always just be less bad. Wow. And you're not hitting the line to, now we start from the scratch and we do everything right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, it will get tighter and tighter in the end. Yeah. So I think that is something we really have to focus on. And definitely, we need more competences in the team.
Yeah.
We need a bigger team. I mean, now I can see that people have like glowing in their eyes when we talk about it and everybody wants to join. We have to structure that.
Yeah. It's about time.
It's about time. It's also about time at BMW to rethink our sustainability march. Yeah. Where do we go? How do we do that? How do we implement it in the cars? And how do we get people aligned?
Yeah. 100%.
It's a beautiful job. I love to do that. I love to get the designers, but not only ED. I also want to get all people more affected with that topic so that they work with us. We need them. We need a connection. When we are in these meetings, there are other departments who are super necessary to understand our rethinking.
Exactly.
If they would just say, oh, the crazy designers again, what do they want?
Yeah.
I don't understand what this circularity thing is about. I never did it before. No way. So that's what I do. I really talk to them a lot.
Next up, going from what we spoke about with Daniela, with the entire concept of rethink, and then moving it on forward into actual production, it's time to have a chat with Dirk Müller Stolz, head of BMW i Exterior Design, how he was able to take Daniela's ideas and with his know-how, turned it into this amazing exterior that is just absolutely gorgeous to look at. Dirk, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Talking about the process of rethinking, what is your approach to this design process? I know speaking with Daniela before, she had all these ideas and it was amazing to hear, but I want to hear what your take on the whole rethinking idea is and how that came to be for you.
Well, the first thought was, what part can I take away? So that's maybe different to a normal design process where we go and see what features does a car need to fulfill a certain role or to have a certain character to appeal to a certain customer group. And this time we just thought, what is the essence that is left over if you take away anything unnecessary? And so that was kind of the idea behind it, to reduce it.
Amazing. So what did you reduce? What did you leave out?
Well, if you look at the exterior, you will find that there are hardly any details. So you won't find chrome finishers, door handles, mirrors, wipers, whatever stuff you normally have as a garnish on a car. And we normally use those elements, obviously, also to get a specific design character. Our goal here was to reduce it, to make it monolithic, more modern, more one kind of shape. And for the sake of that, and obviously also for reducing parts, because no part is better than any part, we took away as much as possible without compromising the experience.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. So let's go into more details. The kidney grille, Hofmeister kink, Angel's Eyes, for example, almost all of them have been reinterpreted in the iVision Circular. This is not for the faint of heart and the fans of tradition. So why did you specifically decide to rethink these BMW icons as well? Doesn't it hurt to change the trademark of BMW cars? I mean, that's the negative self-talk thinking of the diehard fans. But I mean, when you look at it, it's just a piece of art. It's breathtaking. So let's talk about those things, the kidney grille, the Hofmeister kink, and all those features.
Yeah, first of all, I completely agree with you. So those are the icons. And this refers to the essence I was mentioning before. So if you leave everything out that is unnecessary, what you're left behind with is what is still needed. And that's our icons. It's the kidney, it's the 4-eye face, it's the Hofmeister kink, and as well the L-shape taillights.
Yeah.
They have to be future-proof. And this is what we tried with reinterpreting them. We also clustered functions. So if you take a look at the face of the car, you see that the headlights and the kidney grille, they became one element.
Yeah.
This, of course, also has a circularity background. So it's easier to dismantle. You have less amount of parts. And it's also a much cleaner and more modern look.
The moment I was about to look at the iVision Circular for the very first time, and of course, subconsciously, it was like, what's the kidney grille going to be like? And when I saw it for the first time, I was like, now that is smart, right? Just the way that it was done, it was so, like you said, it's future-proof, where I go, I can still recognize it as a BMW kidney grille, but it's transcended time and space. It's its own thing without losing its iconic feature that we all know and love.
That was exactly the idea behind it. And there is one funny thing that happened during the process, actually. At some point, our boss, Mr. Zipser, asked for a picture he could use in the press conference. And that was before the release of the car. And he just used kind of an abstract icon of that new kidney grille.
Really?
Yeah, and it was shown on the press conference. So nobody had the background. It wasn't done in any context.
Yeah.
So you couldn't tell that's going to be the next concept car. But that was funny to see it before the car was even released.
Wow. Super cool. So let's talk even more about this puristic clarity that you brought into the iVision Circular. I mean, instead of a chrome strip, a narrow digital surface runs like a ribbon around the Hofmeister kink and frames the window graphics. I mean, this isn't just a design element anymore. It's also a display of color and surface, and the entire exterior is very digital. So why was this important for you to bring that into the design of the exterior?
There are several reasons for this. First of all, as I mentioned, it's a clean and contemporary look, just to make it all flush and shiny like we did it there, but the main reason is a functional one. So by making the face digital, you can always update it just over the air by a press of a button. And you can imagine if you want to differentiate the car with a sportier version, or you want to do a life cycle impulse at some point, you don't have to invest in new toolings. You don't have to do different bumper versions. You just update the graphics and the appearance of the car changes completely. So this, again, it reduces waste. It makes the logistics easier. It saves money after all. And we're faster and closer to the customer with that.
Yeah. I mean, this is a perfect example of sustainability and luxury coming together. It's sustainable because you're not replacing parts and different things, but it's luxury because every owner can individualize it and make it really their own. That's the luxury.
Exactly.
And just in that one aspect, this is amazing.
We often get asked why we put displays in a car, because after all, they don't have the best CO2 footprint. But it's just as you said, there is an experience behind.
Yeah.
And with using the display, it gives you the opportunity to always update the car.
Yeah.
So it lives longer and therefore it becomes sustainable. And also we were able to cluster functions here. So if you take the Hofmeister kink, or that whole art bar, as we call it, that runs around the window, there is a user interface. So you open the door with it. In a shared car context, you can also do the welcome for the customer. You can share information there. You can see your battery status.
Yeah.
So all that is displayed in one area. And by putting all those technical elements or all the electronics in one area, it's also then much easier to dismantle it as a whole. So this piece is the art bar for the exterior and the user interface for the interior as well.
Wow.
That's the only area where we have electrics in the door.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Circular design, right? Rethink, reduce, reuse, recycle. To what extent does such a leitmotif change the design process when it comes to the exterior of the car? I mean, the exterior has been changed dramatically, but give us a little bit more about the whole circular design concept.
Yeah, so the way we started is actually the first thing we did is we visited the recycling center where our colleagues dismantle the old cars and recycle the parts. And we wanted to understand what are the pain points of their daily work. What do they need to work efficient?
Yeah.
And what does it take to dismantle a car fast and efficiently? And with that knowledge and background, we started designing. And so it was exactly in the order you said. So first rethink and then reduce. So we tried to take away what's not possible. And only after that, we started thinking about reusing and recycling what is left.
Yeah.
And then one main element that maybe showcases this best is the joyful fusion. That's like a fast opener or a quick release that holds pieces in place, and you will find it all over the car. And there is a specific design for this button, which can only be operated with a specific tool. So the idea is our colleagues at the recycling center, they have this tool. They just turn it anti-clockwise and the part falls from the car.
Yeah.
So that's like the easiest way of dismantling pieces. And in order to be easily acceptable and easily accessible on the car, it must be exposed. Therefore, it had to be a design element.
It's part of the design.
Exactly. And this is why we gave it a face. And so this special form for the tool is the circular logo, which itself is made by the letters in the word circular. It's like a puzzle.
Wow. I mean, so much thought has gone into this. This is truly mind-blowing. And just the thought of that one tool to be able to dismantle anything in a second, in a snap, which is easier for when you recycle it and easier to dismantle and makes the entire process so much easier, killing all the pain points. There are no pain points anymore. And it looks amazing. Like, that's the whole thing. So the exterior, of course, it's the figurehead of the car. It's what you show. It's not what's hidden. So what are the criteria for such a design process in the exterior? What's important when it comes to the appearance of a future car?
I think if you see it from a sustainable perspective, it has to be able to stay young longer. So it has to have a long period of life. And therefore, the design, it shouldn't be too fashionable. It should be appealing and timeless. So that's what we tried. We did it very monolithic, and all the elements, they're integrated flush, if there are any elements. So less is more. That was kind of the idea. And overall, this creates a very fresh and modern look, which I think will stay young for a long time. Mm-hmm. And that for me is key for future car design.
Yeah.
Using the resources more thoughtfully.
Yeah. And extending the life of the car.
Exactly.
Which is more sustainable. Exactly. Okay. So with the iVision Circular, you are creating a piece of the future of BMW. Dirk, what does the future look like for you at BMW?
You will find the answer if you take a very close look at the lower left corner of the front bumper. So we managed to sneak in a little Easter egg, and there is the writing engraved, "Future is bright." And that's what I actually honestly believe. And that is like the whole message of the car.
I'm speechless.
It was fun to do that. And we were like waiting any review for this thing to be eliminated. But obviously nobody realized.
They haven't found it yet. Oh, that is so cool. Okay. I'm going to have to check it out next time. You know, after you look at the BMW iVision Circular, you just want to get in it, right? You're just like dying to get in it. And what an interior it is. I mean, just seeing what it looks like from Instagram is just mind-blowing. And our fourth and final guest, Matthias Junghanns, head of BMW I Interior Design. It is great to have you here.
Thank you very much for your invitation.
Now, in the design development, how did you even start the process of rethinking? So what was your approach to that design process?
Oh, good question. First, I think we as a team, we had to fully understand what means sustainability for us, what means circular economy for us, and how is that reflected on products today. And we learned that we have to use the right materials to be able to produce something out of recycled components. Second, we had to learn we have to use new production and fabrication methods that follow these rules of circular economy and sustainability. And maybe one of the most important things, we had to take care what is happening at the end of life of the product. How do we regain these raw materials? How do we work with the recycling process? And how do we make the recycling process efficient and that it does not cost too much time to separate and disassemble the parts into its separate raw materials?
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing, you know, rethink, reduce, reuse, recycle. Those were the top guiding principles of the entire design of the iVision Circular. So what was important for you with this car, apart from the aspect of sustainability? What was so exciting for you about the interior?
Of course, we wanted to create an automotive vision that fits the time. It needs to be an urban concept, so a footprint, an exterior dimension below 4 meters. And to create an interior space that is at the same time appealing, inviting, light-flooded, and that offers a generous space for the interior. This was, I would say, a very driving motive. And all of that, it should follow the rules of circular economy, of course.
Most definitely. So if anybody's gone onto Instagram, you've seen just how gorgeous it is inside. It looks and feels more like a living room than a car. It's absolutely stunning. So how has the interior and the demands on car interiors developed over the last decades under the criteria of luxury? I mean, the interior is luxurious, but it's also sustainable, which I find fascinating.
Exactly. This was exactly the balance that we were looking and aiming for.
Good word, balance.
If you look back into the 80s and 90s, where doing something that is ecologically right, we did these things before. And many of these products felt right from an ecological standpoint, but some of them, they lack the spirit, the emotion, and this kind of admiration that you want to have for a project, to own it, to get in touch with it. So this essential component was missing. Today, the idea to deliver sustainability without surrender is very important. That means you create a highly sustainable or even circular economy car that offers you a high degree of luxury.
Yeah.
And you're right, it is polar opposites in the first thinking, but it opens a door towards new circular aesthetics.
Yeah.
And of course, this is our mission. This is what we have to do as a designer to take these new framework, new materials, new fabrication methods, and to create something that out of it that is desirable, comforting, and progressive at the same time. So a luxury for the new decade.
I love what you said, the sustainable without surrender. That's absolutely beautiful. And that's exactly what it is, right? It's that balance between luxury and sustainability, a concept that a lot of people feel polarizing, but actually when you bring it together, it's something beautiful and it turns into this interior that you've designed. Now, what was the most important to you personally when it came to the interior of the iVision Circular? I know what my favorite part is, but what was most important for you?
First of all, it was important for me and the team to fully understand the rules of circular economy and how we apply that. And it made us rethink the complete design process of a car as we did it in the past decades. Most important for me was, as I mentioned before, to generate a light-flooded space in the interior, a modern, progressive feeling, something that does not look like a conventional car interior, but rather a modern apartment, modern furnished, a place where you walk in and you feel, wow, it's reduced, it's clean, it's modern. I haven't seen that before, but I feel comfortable. I have everything that I need at my hands, and yes, I feel inspired. And that is most important.
Yeah. I mean, when I look at it, at the interior, I mean, the back seat is the first thing that just makes me go, this looks like a gorgeous lounge area. But then at the dashboard is just, it's like crystals coming out of the dash. It's absolutely, that's my favorite part, the entire dash and how it's completely all digital. So this is something that I just go, okay, what if somebody were to sit themselves in it? What would their favorite part be? So for you, what was maybe your favorite part of design? Or are there so many favorite parts that you can't name just one?
I think you exactly hit the point here. When you walk into the car, when you open the doors, you have a look at the dashboard and you see these crystalline elements sitting in the middle of the dashboard. And it is made by a 3D printing method. It is totally recycled, consisting only of one raw material. So we are fully circular here. And at the same time, you see that it's glass-like, it has facets, and you want to go in and touch it, and all of a sudden it awakes. It's light-flooded. And out of a very interesting sculpture, like a living element is created out of it. And in the end, it was our idea, of course, to reduce the interior of the car, get rid of displays, get rid of traditional user interfaces. And this element that you see here, this phygital icon, works as a touch interface. It gives you feedback. And by touching it and controlling it, you basically control the informations that are displayed onto your front windshield.
You said the word phygital, which I think is just so genius. It's a mix of physical and digital.
Yes, right.
And this phygital experience where the number of components are reduced and functions are bundled. I mean, what phygital component that's bundled together is your favorite?
I would say it's exactly what we talked about, this phygital icon in the dashboard.
In the dash.
And as you mentioned, phygital because you want to touch it. It's there, but it is enriched by more digital features. It opens a new world. And this idea of something that transforms into a sculpture, you see that also on our phygital icons in the door areas. So we have from the front door over the rear door to the C-pillar, a very similar element consisting of the same components and same production methods. And it can be also light flooded. It interacts. It starts to be alive. And at the same time, you can touch it, control your seats, control the roof shading over it. So you create a sculpture in a very reduced environment that is somehow breathtaking, and it's even enriched by digital functions.
Wow. Now, you keep saying light flooded, and the more that we're having this conversation, the more I'm actually grasping this idea. It's not just the windows. It's not just the roof. It's the dash. It's the fidgetalness of it. It's the light that is coming in and also inside, and it's completely light flooded. It's this whole new concept of bringing luxury and sustainability together. It's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
So in which areas does the iVision Circular stand out most in the interior compared to all the other BMW i models to date?
I would say it stands out because it's the next step. Already today, I think we show with the BMW iX that we understand that people are using cars differently.
Yeah.
And you have a look at the BMW iX's interior. It is also reduced. It offers a generous space. It offers you a certain calmness in an environment that rather feels like at home or a very modern apartment or even a boutique hotel. And this idea that our car interiors transform into modern living rooms or boutique hotel spaces, I think this is carried forth and carried through that you also see in the BMW i Vision Circular.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
You have these freestanding seats. The front seats just stand on a monopost.
Yeah.
We totally got rid of a middle console.
Yeah, exactly.
And we did all that just to offer a lot of legroom for the rear passengers. So I think this is most important for that car. It's, I would phrase it like less footprint, more experience. Below 4 meters of an exterior dimension, you have an interior space that is like a luxury class limousine of today and even more.
Yeah, most definitely.
To create an experience of its own on every seat, no matter if it's in the front or in the rear seat. And this, for an urban concept, is something outstanding.
Yeah, most definitely. 100%. All right, almost there. And this is when I'm really excited to hear from you. With the iVision Circular, you have created a piece of the future for BMW. What does the future look like for you at BMW?
Oh, very good question. Not so easy to answer in short.
We'll have to do another episode on that.
What I expect us to do, especially with all our efforts towards the Neue Klasse and towards our upcoming cars and show cars, is to offer a new BMW ecosystem that consists of mobility products and digital services that go hand in hand. And I think we are on the right way already, and we've taken the right routes to give people back what is most valuable. It's quality time. You want to surround yourself with products, either digital or analog, that give you back quality, that give you time with your family, with your friends. They give you time for concentration, things and objects that inspire you and they propel you in daily life. A bit philosophical, but I think if this junction of digital and analog mobility services, if we do that right, and I'm very positive that we are on the right way, if we do that right, the future is ours.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Last question. What brings you joy?
When I talk about deeper meaning of joy, actually, I like when there's happiness, when there's fun, when I see people satisfied, right? Either with interaction that we have where I can bring a benefit, or with the stuff I do. Personally talking, because I want to be valid and I want to produce things. And when they have a positive reaction to others, this is joyful to me, even if it's a conversation or like with our work on the show car now, or other ideas that been seen positively. So this is joy. Being with the family, of course, and yeah, that's joy to me. I mean, being alive and taking part.
Well, I guess talking about this brings me joy. This is my purest joy, for seeing that all my work and all my visions and all my efforts and my conviction, this is my conviction, this is how I live, comes true. And in the end, that I can say, I'm not keeping my knowledge towards myself. I want to share that. That's all I can do. And I want what I can give. And if people take it, great. And if they can then jump on that and be happy with that, I can't do more.
Well, apart from my family and cycling, it's being part of a team that helps shaping the future. So at BMW I, we're quite a small team, but everybody is really highly motivated and they all have a mission. And we share the feeling that we want to be part of the solution instead of being part of the problem.
Let me give you an example. For me, joy happens in the small things in life. It is the small things that are done right, where I get the right feeling and the little smile. This is most joyful. For example, this morning, we have the first snowfall out here in Munich. It's cold, a bit frosty outside. And with my little one, my 5-year-old boy, I have to bring him to kindergarten. So we walked down, the wind was blowing, and we opened the door to our BMW iX into a preheated room. The car was welcoming me. The light was nice set. The music was there. And it was an electric, effortless ride towards the kindergarten. And I felt like, wow, it couldn't be much easier.
Yeah.
I feel comfy, well taken care of. And at the same time, the car is so dynamic and so much fun to drive. And I had this smile in my face this morning. This is joy.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And there you have it. 4 main designers of the BMW I Vision Circular. Kai Lange, Daniela Bohlinger, Dirk Müller Stolz, and Matthias Junghanns have all shared their knowledge, their expertise, and how important it is to come together as a team to create the car of the future. Thanks to all 4 for spending time with us today. And thanks to you for listening to this week's episode of Changing Lanes. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you subscribe to our podcast for future episodes and do dive deeper into all things BMW. You know where to go. Head on over to bmw.com to learn more. I'm Jonathan Tilley, and this has been Changing Lanes. See you next time.